BC. What's up, guys? I'm on here doing the Blue Note series. Me, Sherv, and Steven, we were talking about doing the 1500 series. We already started doing some of those. I know you've seen some of the videos I've did, and Sherv and everyone else did on the 4000 series. Now, me and Steven was talking about doing the 1500 series. He just uploaded his the Miles Volume 1 and Volume 2 yesterday, which was Saturday. Today, I'm going to do 3 and 4, which is focusing on the Amazing Bud Powell. Volume 1 and Volume 2, Bud Powell. Prolific piano player. Definitely on that same lines of the bebop era of Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. And the most noted of all of those came out in '53, which is, this is my Denmark pressing, but this was Jazz at Massey Hall. They call this the greatest live jazz performance of all time, which has Dizzy Gillespie, Bud Powell on piano, Charlie Mingus on bass, Dizzy, and then of course Max Roach is on here in the Bird, which he uses Chan on here because of the conflicts he had with labels. But yes, I'm going to talk about Bud Powell. This is my Volume 1 copy. I got into Bud Powell back in '98. I was working at Sam Goody, and we used to get a lot of the CD promos. That's when they started doing those RBG Blue Notes. A lot of those Blue Notes, I had a promo of Volume 1 and Volume 2. So I wasn't familiar with him. I was doing deep into the jazz with Miles. I was listening to a lot of Miles and Coltrane. And so I discovered him. I took those CDs home. They gave us those CDs, and I was playing them like crazy, just listening to them. The one that really stood out for me is A Night in Tunisia. The way that he plays, that's a Gillespie tune. The way that he plays, the way he fills in the notes is outstanding. His key that he fills in all those spots. And the funny thing, he was influenced by Art Tatum. He was that was his influence. Him, and also the songwriting, he was influenced by Monk, which he ended up being around Monk in the 40s. A lot of this stuff from Volume 1, this was almost like it was recorded live, because if you listen to a lot of these tracks on here, like Un Poco Loco, all of these tracks, you can hear Bud like, yeah, you can hear him just playing the keys. But definitely, this was the Afro-Cuban, the sound. He listened to a lot of the Latin and, the overseas, like the Middle Eastern. He even had a song called Parisian Thoroughfare, which definitely Roach is on drums on this, but majority of this album is Roy Haynes on drums, and then you got Sonny Rollins and Fats Navarro. Those are the main staples. This was originally released on a 9-inch, but now it's 9-inch. No, excuse me, 10-inch, and then they put this on the 12-inch. So this is the 12-inch copy. This copy that I own here, this is a early '60s pressing. Bought this one a couple of years ago. Has the Lexington one side deep groove in the New York, USA. So this is an early '60s, '62. Beautiful copy. Bought this one online from overseas. A guy overseas was selling this. That's my Volume 1. And what he did, I guess because the cover was so damaged, this is a Liberty cover, but the cover is intact. So it's pretty cool. Very quiet. Got the ear, the 9M. So this is a really nice copy, a mono, but the cover doesn't match, but it looks great. So yeah, he had a lot of stuff, man. his self-penned stuff, un poco loco, and then of course Dance of the Infidels, which is cool. That's the swings, and then he had the Monk song. He covered Monk song, 52nd Street theme, and then of course the Night in Tunisia. Well was a Bud Powell tune, and then Bouncing with Bud. That's another Bud. Bud's playing ability was so smooth, and he was like Parker on the keys. I mean, his father, he was taught by his father, which was a piano player, and everything his father taught him, he could just play it right back. He was so good, he didn't even look at the keys. He already knew what places he was. Bud was exceptional. The only bad thing about Bud was the stuff he suffered through his whole career. He didn't live long. He was born in 1924 and died in 66. Tuberculosis and pneumonia. It's just crazy how much stuff that he did during that small period. Definitely, one of the greats. I think a lot of people don't talk about him as much because of his lifespan, but he was definitely, man, a strong player, man. He's very influential. I rank him high as far as piano work, and that's he only did a few records, but he filled a lot of gaps. So that was my volume one, and then that was 1503. This is 1504. Now this copy I found at a local store. It's a tore up cover, but this was probably my earliest of all my Blue Notes. This is the record is beautiful. This cover is all torn and seam slipped. I picked this up at a neighborhood shop. Yeah, this is my volume 2. Now this one's nice. This is a Lexington 47 West 63rd. So this one's a very early press with the flat edge. 9M flat edge. Beautiful copy. 9M, the ear. Very early. I believe these are the same masters. The same tape. They use the same just to press this. This is considered a remaster. Now this line up here has George Duvivier, Tommy Potter, Art Taylor, and Roy Haynes on the drums too. Now this one right here has some stellar tracks like Reeds and I, Autumn in New York, which is a beauty. I love that. And of course, Over the Rainbow, he has his self-penned one. If you ever heard Glass Enclosure, which is, I always call that Un Poco Loco Part 2. Glass Enclosure is a spectacular track. But Collard Greens and Black Eyed Peas is when he really digs in. That's another classic. And then that one standard I love to hear his version. Like I've heard so many different versions. You Go to My Head. Oh man, the way he just fills in the gaps. Bud Powell was a definitely legendary player. But yeah, in the mid 40s, he was in and out of psych wards because he was beaten by the police, the Philadelphia police. During that time, a lot of the black artists couldn't do a lot of things due to all the racial tension. Everything was segregated. So it was a different time. In the late 50s, he ended up moving to Paris. And living in Paris, he had more of a freedom, but his mental state was messed up because of that beating he had by the Philadelphia police in 1945. And also, he had a lot of that. And then his brother died in a car crash in 1954. It was his younger brother, Richie Powell. He died in a car crash with his wife, Nancy. They died. So they took a lot of toll on Bud, losing his brother and the beatings he had, the shock therapy he was going through. He kept saying he had a headache because the police really damaged something when they beat him in his head. And it's just crazy. His story, it's like really sad. But his playing, his music lives on, you know. But he ended up passing away in the 60s. He did do one more record, a big known record in the 60s. It's with it's this one here with Dexter Gordon, Our Man in Paris. It seemed like that track, A Night in Tunisia, it fits him so well. He plays it so well. But definitely Bud Powell is a force to be reckoned with. Definitely check him out. And I really dig doing these 1500 series. We going all the way back into the Blue Notes. This is the beginnings of that. The bebop goes into the bop, the hard bop, and it shows how far that it goes. But yes, Bud Powell. Have a few albums by him. This one, Volume 1, Volume 2, and then this beauty here. This is Bud, which will be seen in a future one, 1571. But yes, Earl Bud Powell. 1503, 1504. And I like to thank Steven, man, for coming up with this idea. So definitely gonna do some more of these, man. I mean, this Bud, going back and looking at Bud stuff, man, it just was very interesting. Very interesting. Bud Powell, 1503, 1504. Peace, guys.